Buckle up, because this one isn't just bad officiating or drama in the post-game presser. This is next level. We're talking about a potentially career-altering injury, a silence from the league so loud it's deafening, and a moment that just might end up defining the future of the WNBA. You already know the names. Sophie Cunningham, Bria Hartley. But what went down between them? It's the kind of incident that pulls the curtain back on a league that loves to market toughness and sisterhood until someone gets hurt. If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe. It started with a game. One moment. Cunningham's doing what she always does. Gritty defense. Relentless hustle. Staying in the play. The next, she's on the floor, grabbing her knee. Clearly in pain. And Bria Hartley? She's walking away with a look that fans are calling everything from smug to straight-up sinister. Let's not pretend this is subtle. The video footage has been picked apart frame by frame like it's a Zapruder film. Slow motion, zoomed in, analyzed with the intensity of a true crime documentary. And from every angle, it's hard to deny, Bria Hartley's contact wasn't just unfortunate. It looked targeted. And when that kind of contact happens around the knees, that's not just dangerous. That's career-threatening. And then the broadcast cut away. No replay. No discussion. Just silence. Business as usual. You could almost hear the producers yelling, "Cut the camera, move on, don't get involved." That's when it really hit people. Because Cunningham wasn't just dealing with a dangerous injury. She was being erased from the conversation. Cue the outrage. Let's be clear, this was never going to be just another bad call. Because Stephanie White, head coach of the Indiana Fever, came forward and didn't sugarcoat anything. She confirmed the worst. This is a serious injury, not some day-to-day sprain, not a light bruise. A dangerous MCL injury that could potentially sideline Cunningham for the rest of the season or more. And when a coach comes forward with that kind of raw honesty, while the league refuses to even acknowledge the incident, that's not just telling. That's damning. The message was loud and clear. From Stephanie White, from Sophie's family, from fans, from teammates. This isn't just about one player. This is about how the league protects or fails to protect its own. And Sophie's family? They are not staying quiet. Her sister and mother have both taken to social media with full-on emotional clarity. And honestly, who can blame them? Their daughter, their sister, just got taken out on national television. And the response from the WNBA has been what exactly? A shrug? A hope that we forget? No apology. No disciplinary action. No review. Just dead air. But the Cunningham family is doing what the league refuses to, putting player safety front and center. They've called out the lack of officiating standards. They've called out the league leadership. And perhaps most notably, they've called out the women at the top. Because that's what really stings in all of this. A league built around empowering women, run by women, failing to protect women. You want to talk about irony? That's it. Where's the leadership? Where's the accountability? Where's any sense of urgency? Because this goes deeper than just one injury. This incident has reopened the conversation around dirty play. And before someone jumps in to defend Hartley, let's be clear. Whether or not the action was intentionally dirty, the result was reckless. And there has to be accountability for reckless behavior. This isn't pickup ball. This is professional basketball. If a player goes low, targets knees, plays overly aggressive in a way that leads to a dangerous injury, that's not just physical play. That's negligence. And negligence, when ignored, becomes policy by default. And that's where the league is headed if nothing changes. The WNBA loves to talk about growth, expansion, more media deals, higher salaries. We love all that. But what fans and players are screaming now is simple. None of it matters if you can't keep your players safe. Because what's the point of investing in a star's image, in pushing personalities to the forefront, if those players aren't protected when things get real? We've seen this before. Players go down from hard contact, and the refs just let it go. The league says nothing. Then another one, and another one, until suddenly, people start pulling out receipts, and the league looks reactive instead of responsible. And the players? They notice. You think players don't talk? That they're not texting each other after games, venting in group chats, watching footage, pointing out patterns? Trust me, they're very aware. And in those locker rooms, what's being said right now is probably something like, if they can do that to Sophie and get away with it, who's next? And fans? Fans are watching this and making choices. Do they keep showing up? Do they keep buying jerseys and streaming games when they see their favorite players dropped and discarded like nothing happened? There's an emotional contract between fans and the league, between players and the league. And this incident just tore a massive hole in it. People are pissed, and rightfully so. This moment, Sophie on the ground, Hartley walking away, the camera cutting away, and the league doing nothing, that's going to stick. It's going to become part of the highlight reel of what not to do when your credibility is on the line. Because this isn't just about Bria Hartley. It's about a league that, when tested, failed to respond. And if the WNBA wants to prove that it's serious about being a world-class league, it can't just talk about progress. It has to act. That means clear standards. A review board that isn't afraid to call out dangerous play. A system of fines or suspensions that actually reflect the seriousness of injuries. And yes, leadership that shows up when it matters most. Because you can't build a future if you're afraid to confront the present. And Sophie Cunningham, she deserved better. She deserved to finish that game, to finish her season, to walk off that court with her head held high, not carried off after someone came in low and unchecked. Her injury isn't just a tragedy. It's a wake-up call. The league is at crossroads. One road continues with the status quo, referees missing calls, players afraid to speak, families screaming into the void. The other road? Accountability, transparency, real reform. So which road will they take? Because the clock's ticking, and fans are watching, and players are waiting, and for everyone asking, is this really that serious? Just ask Sophie Cunningham. Ask her how serious it feels when your knee's blown out, and the league you gave everything pretends it's just another Tuesday. Ask her family, watching helplessly while the cameras cut away and the league stays silent. Ask her teammates, who now have to fight through the rest of the season without their spark plug. It is that serious. And until the WNBA starts acting like it, they'll keep losing something far more important than games. They'll lose trust. So sound off. Was Bria Hartley's move dirty or just dangerous? Should the league suspend players for reckless play? And is the WNBA doing enough or doing nothing? Drop your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to subscribe. Because you already know this isn't the end. This is the start of a fire the league can't ignore anymore. It's one thing for the league to say nothing. We've sadly come to expect that level of bland, corporate detachment. But the real sting? The eerie lack of public support from some players, not teammates. Sophie's teammates have clearly rallied. That locker room is bruised but united. But across the league, across rival teams, across the faces of the W who are normally loud, proud, and ready to stand for something, there's been a pause. Where's the outrage from league veterans? Where's the flood of Instagram stories, tweets, or interviews saying this can't happen again? Sure, there have been a few quiet mentions, maybe a passive-aggressive emoji or cryptic caption, but the wall of silence from many of the league's biggest names is louder than any post. And it begs a question. Why? Is it fear of fines? Retaliation? Is it just politics? Are players being told behind closed doors to stay out of it? Because if that's the case, if voicing concern for a fellow player's safety is something players feel they can't do, that's not a professional league. That's a controlled environment, a PR machine. And frankly, that's terrifying. This kind of internal censorship doesn't just hurt Sophie. It hurts everyone. It sends a message that your safety can be compromised, your body can be damaged, and the people who call themselves your peers might not even say your name unless the league gives the green light. That's not solidarity. That's silence bought in bulk. Now, let's shift into a different but connected issue. The myth of controlled aggression in the WNBA. People love to talk about how physical women's basketball has gotten, how players are scrappy, tough, unafraid of contact. And listen, that's great. Women bawling out with intensity? We love to see it. But that praise becomes dangerous when it gives cover to recklessness, when physical becomes a default excuse for cheap shots, when she plays hard becomes a euphemism for she goes for knees and dares you to call her out. There's a difference between being aggressive and being out of control. But lately, that line's been getting blurred, and the officiating is letting it happen. We're in an era where hard fouls go uncalled unless the injured player can't get up, where refs treat toughness like an endurance test, where letting them play has turned into letting them get injured without consequences. And the irony, that encourages more dangerous play, because if the message being sent is, you can get away with it, then guess what? Players looking to make a name for themselves or prove a point will push those boundaries. And sooner or later, someone else is going to end up on the floor like Sophie did. Except next time, it might not be a knee. It might be an ankle, a concussion, a spinal injury. And then what? The league's going to cut away again? Now let's talk optics, because oh boy, they're bad right now. The WNBA has been riding a massive wave of momentum lately. New eyes, bigger sponsors, highlight reels finally getting airtime on major sports networks. There was an energy, a movement, a shift, and this is how they handle their moment of crisis? By looking away, by ignoring a visibly injured player, by refusing to even pretend to hold someone accountable. You can't say you're building the future of women's sports and then act like a tech startup dodging customer complaints. The brand has to match the behavior. Right now, they're out here selling empowerment in the ads and delivering indifference when it actually counts. And fans notice, especially the new ones, because you know who's watching closely? The casuals. The people who just started paying attention to the W. The ones who saw a few viral plays and decided to give the league a shot. And their first taste of controversy? A woman goes down from a reckless play. The other player walks away smirking, and the broadcast cuts the feed like it's state media. Not a great first impression. Here's another piece no one's really putting together. How this moment could affect player marketing. We always talk about how women's sports struggle to build individual stars. How brand deals are finally starting to pour in. How faces like Sabrina Ionescu, Aya Wilson, Caitlin Clark, and others are becoming known. Sophie Cunningham, whether you love her or hate her, was becoming one of those faces. The kind of player who had carved out a brand. Tough, outspoken, relentless. A player that brands could market, fans could rally around, and the league could highlight. And in one moment, gone. Not just off the court. Erased from the narrative. No press. No updates. No celebration of her career so far. No get well soon video montage or league-wide shout-out. Just silence. That affects more than just Sophie. That affects every player building their personal brand. Because if the league won't even protect or promote you after you suffer a major injury, what's the point of giving your all? What kind of job is this, where your worth evaporates the second you're unable to perform? Imagine being a young athlete seeing that. Seeing how quickly the league moves on, how quietly it tiptoes around controversy. You'd start thinking twice about investing your identity in it. Let's dig even deeper. Let's talk about leadership optics. There's been a long-running hope that women in charge would make the difference in leagues like the WNBA. That when women lead women, there's a different kind of empathy, a better understanding, a stronger bond. But this exposes a hard truth. Representation doesn't automatically equal progress, because women can uphold broken systems too. Women can protect the brand over player. Women can enforce silence instead of action. And when that happens, it hurts worse, because the expectations were higher. This was the moment for leadership to be bold, to be transparent, to say, this won't happen again. Instead, we got nothing, and now players, fans, and families are left feeling betrayed by the very people they thought would have their back. The kind of disillusionment that cuts deeper than any injury. And here's something wild no one's talking about yet. What if Sophie hadn't been a popular player? What if this happened to a rookie no one knew? Would we have any footage? Would we even know about it? Because if a well-known player like Sophie Cunningham can be injured in full view and still get buried by silence, imagine what happens when the spotlight's not even there. This isn't just a Sophie issue. This is about every player in the W who's ever played through pain because they knew complaining would hurt their minutes. Every player who's been told to shake it off when they knew something was wrong. Every woman who's played hard because she thought someone was watching, only to find out no one really was. So here we are, still no league statement, still no disciplinary action, still no review, and yet the questions are growing. The frustration is rising. The fire is spreading. This is the moment before something breaks. Something has to give. Something has to change. Because if the WNBA doesn't step up now, they may never recover the trust they're losing. And trust me, we're just getting started. Let's start with the injury protocol, or more accurately, the lack of one. When Sophie went down, there was chaos. Trainers rushed out, teammates huddled in shock, and the arena turned into a church. Dead silent except for Sophie's pain. But you know what didn't happen? No league-mandated stoppage. No thorough in-game review. No public medical update from league officials. Just confusion. And for an injury this severe? That's insane. The WNBA can't keep pretending that it's fine to treat elite athletes like their bodies aren't their livelihoods. Where are the concussion protocols? The orthopedic assessments? The independent injury evaluators? We've watched other leagues, yes, including the NBA, the NFL, and even college-level tournaments, introduce mandatory medical response procedures. There are blue tent checkups, cooling-off periods, minimum timeouts for assessment. But in the W, it's vibes. It's whether someone decides it's worth looking at. And that's not just reckless, it's negligent. You know what the league should have done? Immediately initiated an automatic review of the play. Independent. Transparent, with footage made public, and a clear explanation of why disciplinary action was, or wasn't, taken. But that would have required having a plan. And that's what this moment has exposed most clearly. There is no plan for when things go wrong. Now, let's talk player insurance and compensation. This is one of the ugliest, most behind-the-scenes parts of the WNBA, and no one wants to talk about it publicly. But when a player suffers a season-ending injury, the financial fallout can be devastating. Sure, there's salary protection clauses. But are they enough? Not really. Recovery takes time. Specialized rehab takes money. And unless you're one of the top-paid stars with endorsement deals covering your bills, you're probably already budgeting tightly. Sophie may be a name, but she's not sitting on million-dollar contracts. She's not driving a Bentley to a private training facility. So now she's not just injured, she's out of commission for months, possibly longer. Is the league offering to cover her full rehab, travel to specialist doctors, emotional support therapy? Does the WNBA even have a mental health safety net for players dealing with trauma after serious injuries? Because let's be real here, this wasn't just a physical injury. This was public and controversial. Sophie's pain was broadcast, clipped, analyzed, and shared across platforms, and then completely dismissed by the league that should have stood behind her. That kind of emotional whiplash, it's going to stay with her. And guess what? There's zero infrastructure in place to deal with that. Now here's a curveball no one's expecting. Coaches are watching this too, and it's changing how they're going to coach. Every coach in the league saw what happened and is now silently calculating risk. Do I play my star when we're up 20 and the opposing team is getting chippy? Do I keep my firecracker defenders on the floor when I know the refs aren't going to protect them? Because if the league won't stop dirty play, coaches will. They'll start pulling players early, holding people back, telling stars to ease up instead of fighting through. And what's the fallout of that? Slower games, lower intensity, less drama, less entertainment, which leads us to a cold, hard truth. Moments like this kill momentum. The WNBA's been riding a PR wave, right? Big names, flashy draft classes, international headlines, growth, viewership up, social media buzzing. But now, the air has shifted. Instead of post-game clips of buzzer beaters and rivalries, we got debates about safety, footage of smirks, injury montages, and quotes from angry family members. Instead of growing excitement, you've got doubt. And here's the real kicker. This league already doesn't get second chances in the media. If the NBA mishandles a foul or a dirty play, It makes headlines, but the league survives. There's infrastructure. There's history. There's momentum. They can recover. But the W? Every mistake is magnified. Every scandal lingers. Because it's still fighting for its legitimacy in the eyes of casual sports fans and major sponsors. This is the kind of moment that sponsors see, that broadcast networks see, that investors, expansion markets, and licensing partners notice. Because if the league can't guarantee basic standards of professionalism and safety, why invest? This is about more than Sophie now. This is about the long-term viability of the WNBA. And here's another thing to chew on. Fans are starting to organize. If you've been on social lately, you've seen it. Threads, petitions, player safety coalitions, group DMs coordinating pressure on the league. This isn't a performative clout-chasing kind of fandom. This is informed, active, fiercely loyal community outrage. People are tired of the silent treatment, tired of watching their favorite players get hurt, and then seeing the league throw a motivational quote on Instagram like that'll fix things. Fans are out here doing more for Sophie's visibility than the league itself. And that should scare the WNBA. Because fan movements have power. They can get coverage. They can pressure sponsors. They can shape narratives. And if the league doesn't act soon, they'll lose control of the story completely. Now, let's get even more surgical with this. The international optics. Remember, this isn't just a U.S. league. Players come from all over. Countries where women's basketball is surging. Where the WNBA is held up as the dream destination. The gold standard. What do you think players overseas are thinking after seeing Sophie's injury? The broadcast blackout. The deafening silence. Would you want to sign a WNBA contract right now if you were watching from Spain, Australia, Canada, Hungary? You'd pause. You'd have questions. Am I protected? Is there a real medical infrastructure? Do I get a say if I feel unsafe? Because the answer right now feels like you'll get what you get and don't ask questions. And that's a problem if the league wants to continue its international expansion and attract global talent. It's also a problem when college players start thinking the same thing. Because now nil money is real. Options are everywhere. Athletes don't have to go pro immediately to make money. If a college player is looking at the WNBA and seeing this mess, she might just stay put, or go overseas, or do both and delay her entrance into a system that doesn't seem to protect athletes. You want to talk about talent drain? This is how it starts. And just to twist the knife a little deeper, this was a preventable mess. All the league had to do was acknowledge the moment, address the play, even just pretend they cared enough to investigate. That's it. Even if no punishment came, even if the result was not enough evidence. At least then, the process would have existed. Fans would have seen an attempt at integrity. But now they've got nothing. And nothing becomes everything. So where do we go from here? Hold that thought, because we're not done. This story is still unraveling. More is coming. And the longer the league stays silent, the louder the people around it will get. And you already know, I'm going to be right here breaking every bit of it down.